I've seen much strangeness in the 20 years of ferrying pilgrims to the sacred abbey on the Isle of Druish. Sights no landlubber would believe. Tentacled sea monsters, sea witches, and the drifting spirits of souls lost at sea. With these eyes I've witnessed the sea turn red and thick as blood, and watched stars falling to the ocean and making it boil and steam like a blacksmith's trough. But nothing in all the 7 seas brings more dread to the heart of a seaman than the mermaid. Legend holds that no man charmed by these mysterious creatures ever escaped to land to tell the tale. It's said a man enchanted by a daughter of Neptune is as lost to the sea as if a whale had swallowed him. Yet here I stand to tell the tale of the night I spent with a mermaid. It was on a cold winter's morn when I last set sail for Druish. A bitter north wind had worried the sea into a heavy swell. I unfurled the sail and set off full and by with a cargo full of pilgrim monks, soaked and freezing in spray. Among them an abbot from Bright Isle who insisted on sheltering the cuddy halfway out. As we passed the granite rocks around the towering formation that is Arkell's Gate, this abbot came on deck with a confused and frightened expression. "Who sings?" he demanded of the others on board. The others just looked at him from under the dripping hoods of their soaked cowls, as if he were deranged to think they might be in the mood for a sing-song. The abbot looked at me. "Who sings?" he asked again, with desperation in his voice. "I hear no singing," I replied, for I could hear only the flap of high wind in the sail and the crashing sea. He looked around frantically and pointed to the granite arch of Arkell's Gate. His eyes were wide and wild. "Look there," he cried. "On the rock. A woman, see? She sings," he shouted. I strained to see through the fog and drizzle, but saw only the familiar grey silhouette of the crag. "We must rescue her," shouted the abbot. "There's no woman," I told him, "and even if there was, we could go no closer, or we'd be scuppered on the rocks." He looked distraught, clenching his fists and stepping from one foot to the other. Then, suddenly, he turned, ran and threw himself overboard, shouting, "I come!" "To starboard," I yelled as the monks rushed to port to see the abbot in the water. But the sudden rush of bodies had tipped the vessel, allowing a wave to bring her over. I had to fight my way to the rocks, for not only did the heavy swell toss and dunk me, but those good Christians grabbed and clawed at me as their heavy habits dragged them down to Davy Jones' locker. Near exhaustion, I clambered onto one of the barnacle-covered rocks surrounding the outcrop. As I regained my breath, it occurred to me that the wind had suddenly ceased, and indeed the sun had broken through the blanket of grey clouds to cast a beam of sunlight on the strangely becalmed sea. A feeling of dread overcame me as the madness on the monk's face came into my mind. I closed my eyes for fear of seeing a mermaid. I shivered there in the sun for some moments before a sudden disturbance in the water beside me startled me. I squeezed my eyes shut even tighter. A smell of fresh fish and a breath on the back of my neck made me shudder. "You're cold," The woman's voice whispered softly in my ear, "Let me warm you." I felt her slender arms wrap around me, though I felt no heat from her. Tensing at her touch, I put my hands over my closed eyes to ensure they could not open, and began to recite the seaman's prayer. I do not know how long I sat in the embrace of that creature, but there in her cold arms I sat frozen in fear as the night fell. Many long dark hours passed before cold, thirst and hunger broke my will. I spoke to her. "Leave me be," I begged. She sighed in my ear, and I heard her sob. "I only want your love," she said, "and to love you in return." Her voice was so pure and true, with nothing but sweetness and honesty to it, that I involuntarily began to open my eyes. I heard a crunch, and the arms that had held me fell away. I heard a splash beneath. I looked down. The light of dawn was tinging the rock with gold. A large fish's tail was disappearing into the clear water below me. As the ripples cleared, I saw thin clouds of blood dispersing in the brine. There was no other sign of the mermaid. Startled by a sound, I turned around and saw the abbot standing right behind me with a large rock in his hand and his eyes full of fury. "She was mine," he snarled, and drew the rock back to strike me, as I guessed he had struck the mermaid. I tugged at the thick stems of the seaweed on which he stood. He tumbled backwards, smashing his head on a sharp projection of granite. His unconscious body rolled into the water and lay face up, bobbing in the gentle waves. Again, I looked down at the water where the mermaid's blood had been, and discerned a face looking back up at me from the depths, smiling and peaceful, and of such strange enchanting beauty that it caused a deep longing pain in my heart. I closed my eyes, fearing that I was too late, that I had been charmed, and that I would forever be enslaved. I heard the creature's surface. "I release you," said the soft, melodious voice, "with my thanks." And with a splash she was gone. When I opened my eyes, I realized she had taken the abbot with her.